So he actually tweeted me back. Eric M. Underwood tweeted me back. Eric M. Underwood is a candidate for the Democratic Party for governor in Colorado. And even though he was very vague, he said Trump care will hurt millions, including those here in Colorado. He's right. He's correct, but he's not as right as Kerry Kennedy. Kerry Kennedy came out strong. Kerry Kennedy issued out a public statement. She said over 500,000 people are going to lose their health insurance. She is moral. She sees the issue, and she took a stand on it. So Kerry Kennedy is, between her and Mike Johnson, they're the top two. Now, there is some things that I can deduce, I can infer from Eric M. Underwood's tweet. Number one, he pays attention to Twitter, so he is looking at his Twitter account, and he does respond to it. So if you said something to him and he didn't respond, then he's intentionally ignoring you. Now, you also have Noel DG, so he went ahead and put the Twitter handle for Mr. Ginsburg, who I'm going to be talking about for the first hour of today. And then he says, welcome to the governor's race. So I'm sure all these candidates are going to be encouraged to talk bad about the other candidates, and I'm sure as soon as they do, their words will just take off. But I don't want that. I don't want the petty, sort of squabbles. What I want is a distinction between policies. So far, I have not seen concrete policies. I want ranked choice voting. I want the homeless to be protected. I want the marijuana industry to be protected. I want the end of the war on drugs. I want to decriminalize all drugs, not just protect the marijuana industry, which is vital, not just for Colorado, not just for the potheads, but for all the revenue, all the money. Here in Pueblo, the county, they're sitting there trying to make it seem like they're against marijuana, whereas the city is for it because they had like 3 or 4 issues on the ballot. But the very moment that the tax revenue, who gets the tax revenue, all of a sudden the county's like, give me money, give me that money. Okay, well, we need to protect the marijuana industry, give the credit, give credit where credit is due. The marijuana industry has brought in lots of tax revenue. It's brought in more people, progressives, such as yours truly. So it might, there might be some bullshit, but there's always been bullshit. The war on drugs did not get rid of the drugs. And we should be like Portugal, and we should have a more compassionate and tolerant society. You don't want criminals, but if somebody is just lonely, getting themselves all doped up on heroin, well, then that's somebody to feel sorry for. That's not a criminal. So I wish there was more hard policy positions. So far, I've seen none of them. No hard policy positions from any of the Democratic candidates here in Colorado, and they're barely progressive. I barely see any progressives in the bunch. And so really, I want to ask all the questions, especially Eric M. Underwood, why are you a Democrat? Why are you a Democrat? Just because you hate Trump? His answer was pretty conservative, but he's right, okay? So I'll give him where credit is due. He responded, good for him. He's got a social media campaign. I haven't seen his name specifically. There's probably about 5 or 6 big names, and I feel like Eric M. Underwood is going to be that, line of demarcation. If you're more serious than Eric, then that means you're a serious candidate. If you're not as serious as Eric, then you're not. And I've seen 3 other new candidates jump into the foray, including somebody I fucking hate, Schroeder. I cannot stand Schroeder. Schroeder can kiss my ass. So how important is it that the politicians connect with their constituents? The utmost importance, okay? So they are campaigning. They want to get your vote. When they get into office, that's when they can ignore you. They should have some constituent services, right? But you have Adam Garrity, Moses Humes, and Michael Schroeder. This ColoradoIndependent.com article says that there's other candidates besides the ones I've mentioned so far, and that's Adam Garrity, Moses Humes, and Michael Schroeder. Unfortunately, Adam Garrity's phone number that he put on his official campaign paperwork didn't work. So I don't know if he put a faulty phone number or if maybe the phone number he put in, he didn't pay the bills. Then you have Moses Humes, and the phone number listed in the campaign paperwork for Humes, again, the man said that it wasn't him, and he didn't know why reporters had been calling him. So the two phone numbers for Adam Garrity and Moses Humes went nowhere. So who the fuck are these guys? I don't know. I will do, a Google search on them later. And then we got Michael Schroeder. So I'm going to check out Michael Schroeder too. So another good thing with Eric M. Underwood, I went ahead and posted a tweet to Noel Ginsburg. I was like, hey, Noel Ginsburg, what do you think about ranked choice voting? Even if you don't like ranked choice voting, eventually once I'm finished with doing these individual candidate profiles, I'm going to rank you guys. I'm going to tell you the state of Colorado. Here is the state of the Democratic Party right now. And right now, Michael Schroeder is the fucking worst, okay? So in a phone interview, it says that Michael Schroeder said he's very educated, he's a smart man, right, in fiberglass composites. So he knows a lot about fiberglass composites. He's currently in Arizona. He's not even in Colorado, right, making money in other states. And he's working on a big corporate deal with patents that he owns. So, it seems like this man's got some money. As governor, he said he wouldn't want to shut down the pot industry, but he would crack down on stone driving. He would crack down on... He's going to fucking undo the pot industry. I want to end this fucking drug thing, and I want to make Colorado the #1 tech state in the world. Well, you want Colorado to be #1 tech state in the world, then get some more potheads in here, because potheads are the only ones that can, can sustain doing all that coding. They have to sit in a room and do all that coding. Well, here's a fucking joint. Now they can do a whole bunch of it. So I want a tech state. I want Colorado to be a tech state. I don't see one being the opposite of the other, but I just don't like that kind of discrimination. That's Hitler-esque, right? Oh, they bring the drugs and this and that. Well, instead of providing water, instead of providing food, these motherfuckers want to take freedom away. They want to take your damn freedom, and we just legalized freedom here in Colorado. So we got to protect this industry. We got a attorney general right now that says good people don't smoke pot. So he's against pot. Hickenlooper did that Chamberlain moment, that Neville Chamberlain moment, where he goes up to him and he's like, we have peace in our times, right? He's not going to do shit about the legal pot states. Bullshit. I think they will. But if they do, is Colorado going to be ready? Because I don't think Colorado will be ready. I think most of the authorities here will work with the feds in order to go hurt other people. And this is my fear with Michael Johnston. I don't feel like Michael Johnston is defending the marijuana industry either. He made sure he passed a bill to make marijuana concentrates illegal. So if you want to make some hash oil, if you want to buy a bunch of marijuana and put it in a bowl and then put alcohol on top of that marijuana, that's illegal. That's illegal. You'll go to jail for that. Well, that's going after people in their own, the privacy of their own homes. So the marijuana thing shouldn't just be exclusive to corporations. It should be for each and every household. I want to see cannabis gardens. I want to see marijuana in everybody's front yards. I don't want us talking about it. And, they already restricted, 99 plants down to, 16 now? So they're already rolling this back. They're not taking a strong stance against the feds. In fact, they said that they voted down the pot clubs. There was going to be pot clubs in Colorado, but the state legislatures voted it down because John Hickenlooper was going to veto it. So because of his threatened veto, pot clubs are not legal here in Colorado because of John Hickenlooper, because of the Democrat. And now you got this piece of shit. Why the fuck do you call yourself a Democrat, Schroeder? Who the fuck is this Schroeder? Michael Schroeder? Who the fuck are you? And I don't want no druggies, and I don't want this, I don't want that. If you can pay your bills, if you can go to work, if you can be a productive member of society, why the fuck do you give a fuck what the adults do in the privacy of their own home? Do you not respect privacy in people's own homes because you're an alcoholic? John Hickenlooper runs a brewery, used to run a brewery, so he's all about alcohol. Go ahead, get drunk, spread alcoholism. Make sure he makes a bunch of money, right? You get drunk. That's when you get domestic violence. You have greater instances of domestic violence with drunkenness. You have greater instances of car wrecks with alcohol. They're all about alcohol. None of them are saying stop alcohol. So these motherfuckers that have been inconsistent, they are hypocritical. So if they're not going to protect the pot industry, then are you going to protect the beer industry? You're going to protect the alcohol industry? You're going to protect the alcohol industry because you're a fucking hypocrite. You fucking hypocritical motherfuckers. And then Michael Schroeder ends it off. So we're going to put the money where the mouth is. That's a weird way to put it. So we're going to put the money where the mouth is. You're going to put your money where your mouth is, and we're not going to be a bunch of dopers in Colorado. I like potheads. Potheads, hungry, happy, sleepy. The worst thing they'll do is pass out too early, eat some Doritos. What they won't do is, act a fucking fool. It's not alcohol. Pot is basically just your grandmother's anti-anxiety medicine. Yeah, this is the main reason actually why I came to Colorado. Colorado and Kentucky, a lot of the things are the same, right? You got your Walmarts and your McDonald's and, your neighborhoods. Everything seems to be pretty much the same to me. Worse climate, the sand at least, the dirt isn't as good, but there's no rust, so less humidity. So it's actually a better climate. So anyways, it's just a little bit of pros and cons, but the main reason I stay, main reason I will, love Colorado as much as I love my former home state is because I can smoke marijuana. Because I can smoke marijuana and not be a goddamn criminal. I don't have to do it under, the guise of law. I don't do any hard drugs. Marijuana is my drug of choice, and that's it. I'm not a bad guy. All I want to do is, this is my beer. This is my beer. This is my beer. This is my vice. And you want to take this away from me? Fuck you, man. Fuck you, okay? It's bullshit. That's not fair. I'm not hurting anybody, so I don't see what the problem is. Aren't we all Americans here? Don't I have a right to my own body? If I wanted to drink a bunch of bleach, that's sad and depressing, but you're going to beat me up, hit me over the head with a nightstick, throw me in jail, put a bunch of charges, put a bunch of felonies on me, so that way, I never get a fucking job for the rest of my life? And then you're going to call me the criminal? No, that would make you the criminal. You're using violence, you're falsely imprisoning people, it's official misconduct. That makes you the bad guy. So I did send out a message to Kerry Kennedy's homepage on her Facebook homepage, and it said to be reviewed. So you can't just post on her page, right? It's probably a good idea if people are going to be writing a bunch of shit. But somebody's going to read it, right? So we'll see if Kerry Kennedy responds. Also sent a tweet out to Doug Ginsburg. So we'll see if Doug Ginsburg is going to respond to his Twitter. This is early on, but I guarantee you people are going to watch these videotapes, especially when it gets closer to the primary day. And maybe not these individual profiles, but when I say the state of the Democratic Party, that video coming up. Ha! George Brockler, the inevitable winner of this Colorado's governor's race, says that Colorado conservatives are different and special. George Brockler, he says that we are more liberty-minded than others, and that's what drove us uphill 1 mile to live. That's what drove us up 1 mile, okay, it's awkwardly said, but this is what drove us up the hill 1 mile to live in an arid place where the sun beats on you harder than it beats on you anywhere else, where you have to breathe deeper just to sustain life, and where we get the vigorous part of all 4 seasons, sometimes over lunch, George Brockler said. Colorado is special. You recognize that. These great people around me recognize that. Stay focused on that. Don't subscribe to what takes place downhill. Let's raise it up and make them match what we do here. That's amazing. God, that is so heartfelt. That is so honest and true and way fucking better than Kerry Kennedy. Kerry Kennedy is fake, okay? I have to, when it comes to these damn Democrats, I'm sitting there drawing straws, trying to find some red meat, trying to find some real policy substance. And with Kerry Kennedy, she admits to climate change. That is how desperate I am, looking for these, these issues. Yeah, they care about health care and jobs and education. They got all these watchwords, infrastructure, right? They'll mention something about everything. Even the Republicans do that. But just mentioning it doesn't, Michael Johnston should take his licks with the 2-year free college plan. They're going to say it's socialism. They're going to say this and that. Take your damn licks, man. It's a volunteer program, so it's not even great. It's only 2 years, so you don't even get the full years. We could pay for free college with the marijuana revenues, okay? With the marijuana revenues, we could get free health care, free education, and free child care. We could have a badass fucking bumping ass time here in Colorado if we got somebody in the governor's chair with some goddamn vision who actually has some real policy ideas. So, Michael Johnston, be careful with that, you know, because I like it, right? Then other people are going to hate it for probably the opposite reasons. But take your licks, stand up for it. If you wrote a 100-page plan, the press will look at page 96 and they'll say, how come you did this? Oh my God, quantitative easing. He said quantitative easing, right? They'll try to poke holes, and that's okay. It's up to the candidates to get their message out there. And that's, you know, why else would I be talking to Eric Underwood? Everybody else is going to be laughing at him and not taking him as a serious candidate. I will take him as a serious candidate because I want more voices and choices. And I believe in ranked choice voting. So go ahead, shitty people. Jump on in there. I'll make sure I vote you dead motherfucking last. Like you, Michael Schroeder. Michael Schroeder is the worst, biggest piece of shit. Fuck Michael Schroeder. Man, Michael Schroeder is going to fuck Colorado up. Michael Schroeder is going to take Colorado back, 100 fucking years. He is not for progress. He is not for advancing Colorado. Michael Schroeder hates Coloradans. He specifically hates every single Coloradan here. You go smoke some marijuana, Michael Schroeder hates you. He's like, you're fucking up my state, man. I remember when things were good and pot wasn't legal. Yeah, pot changed every fucking thing, right? Pot's the reason why what? You got heroin issues? Shut the fuck up. I just came out of Kentucky. We got heroin issues. We got meth issues. The war on drugs didn't fucking solve shit anywhere. And if anything, here in Colorado, now instead of going out and get a bunch of fucking heroin and doing some, horrible shit, they can go get a fucking joint and hopefully get off of that fucking heroin. I'd much rather have a city full of potheads than a bunch of heroin addicts. So, according to Wikipedia, there's 5 candidates who are running: Noel Ginsburg, Mike Johnston, Kerry Kennedy, Ed Perlmutter, and Eric Underwood. And I've done a piece on every one of them. I don't think I really hit Ed Perlmutter too much. I wasn't very enthused about Ed Perlmutter. He's old, and so is Joel Ginsburg. So Mike Johnson, Ed Perlmutter, they seem just as progressive as each other. Why are y'all Democrats? Why the fuck are you all Democrats? I want to know that for each and every one of you all. It seems like they care about the poor. It seems like they care. But just because you say I care about the homeless, right? I think Mike Johnston worked at a homeless shelter. Well, does that mean he's going to get public housing? Does that mean he's going to institute land reform, universal basic income? How's he going to solve poverty? What's he going to do with the homeless? Okay, I'm glad you care. But I want some red meat. I want to actually talk about some goddamn policies here. The Democratic Party needs to get serious. Stand up for your issues. Take your licks. People are going to criticize you no matter where you're at. But George Brockler says he wants Nathan Dunlap dead. Do you have a more concrete plan than that? Nathan Dunlap is going to die. That will register. People will understand that. One good thing about Noel Ginsburg is he chose Pueblo, Colorado to begin his campaign. So Pueblo, Colorado, this is a heavily Hispanic. Pueblo, Colorado is a heavily Hispanic blue-collar union town. So I think it's like 50-50 here. So that's progressive. That's wonderful. And blue-collar union, okay, Noel Ginsburg, you're getting my attention. You've got to be pro-union. You're a Democrat? Okay, you're in favor of unions. You're in favor of labor over capital. Now, Ginsburg says that he's the only high-profile candidate in the Democratic primary who hasn't held public office. So who in the hell is this man, right? He hasn't had public office. Why does he think he could run the state? Well, he has been a businessman. He has been, an executive for his own corporation. He says that for him, running for governor isn't like a lifelong dream for him. For him, running for governor is just, he wants some change, right? He hopes his legacy is that he leaves the world a better place than what he found it. And that's wonderful, I like that, okay? I like that, Noel Ginsburg, that you chose Pueblo, Colorado to open your campaign out, and it's saying that he cares about these rural small towns. Good. It's not just fucking Denver and Boulder and whatever, but there's lots of people out here. Actually, I saw the 3rd congressional district is like the half of Colorado. We got 7 representatives, but 1 representative has half the state in terms of land area. And that was Scott Tipton. And Scott Tipton showed he was a very big coward, and he doesn't fucking represent me, and fuck Scott Tipton. So even though I believe that George Brockler is the inevitable victor in this Colorado race, that's why the Democrats have got to up their game. Michael Johnston would be a contender, but it's like 50-50, and I think he's kind of a wimp. Michael Johnson looks like a wimp, and then George Brockler looks like a big fucking tough guy. And so, who looks more presidential, and it's superficial and it's stupid. But, you know, Michael Johnson is he's probably right there at my top pick, but not because he's a big, you know, true blue progressive, but because he's got all that money, he's got all that backing, and he seems like he's the most progressive out of all the candidates that could take George Brockler on. Even though I think George Brockler is the inevitable victor for at least the Republican primary, Victor Mitchell, he's already reported $3 million for his Colorado governor's race. So whereas Michael Johnson can, you know, compete monetarily, breaking records, getting over $500,000 in campaigns, you know, this far out, a year and a half before the election. You have this guy, Mitchell, Victor Mitchell, who's also a Republican, and he's like, I'm a nice guy. He's got, you know, some gray hair. It looks like golden gray hair. It looks like it's all frosted. So, okay, he's like, I'm a nice guy. He probably is. I'm sure he's affable. But what's his policies? Now, I don't know. He's a Republican, but look at all the damn money. He's saying that it's going to cost $5 million for the primary. It's going to cost Victor Mitchell $5 million to win the primary, so he put $3 million in, but he's prepared to put more in. And it's going to be $5 million for the primary, and then he says another $5 million to win the general election. So to become governor of Colorado, you need $10 million, $10 fucking million to become governor of Colorado. And so I actually think me and Victor Mitchell are the exact opposite. Victor Mitchell's going to what? Have 3 issues. He's going to talk about 3 issues, and then people are going to repeat his bullshit as if he's like one of the smartest people in the world. But Victor Mitchell, he's only going to have 3 issues, but he's going to have $10 million pushing his view out there so that all Colorado will actually get to hear what he has to say. He doesn't have, you know, a heart full of passion and revolutionary, you know, spirit. He doesn't want to get out there and change things. He doesn't, you know, have so much empathy that he's got to do something. He's got to stand up and he's got to be counted. So whereas I have lots of ideas, lots of issues, lots of things that I feel needs to be changed, I do like the post office. Well, so let's keep the post office. But, yeah, America could be such a bump in place. Here's an idea for every one of you candidates. Sweden has a program where they turn trash into electricity. How come we're not doing that? Why the fuck are we want to take our trash and put it in a hill? That's more important. Taking our trash, putting it into a goddamn hill is more important than taking it and burning it and, you know, turning it into electricity. Come on, we got to think better than this, right? Pueblo is going to turn green by 2035, right? 2035, we only got 18 years, so we got to get on this. We got to turn Pueblo green in just 18 years. So Noel Ginsburg, he keeps on going. He says he's a self-described introvert. Okay, I kind of like that. He's a thinker, right? He's introspective. So I think that he would second-guess himself. He's not going to be like some cocky, you know, bastard, you know, rat bastard that just goes around hurting people and doesn't think twice about it. So Noel Ginsburg is an introvert. I like that. He says it's something that I thought long and hard about, you know, running for governor. But the fact is, what people really want is authentic and real solutions with people that have a history of not talking about solutions, but actually doing it. So, yeah, let's get some real fucking solutions for our problems. We've got to protect the marijuana industry to protect that tax revenue. Say it, Democrats, or unless you're against my freedom, then get the fuck out of my face, because then I don't think you're the kind of Democrat that I would ever vote for. Noel Ginsburg worked for his father's food manufacturing business at the age of 8, so he's into child labor, right? You can actually make work fun, I think. So if he wasn't, you know, by the whip forced to go work, then good. You know, he says it, you know, basically colored his character. So he worked weekends and summer on the production line. Okay, so he's on the assembly line, just doing it for fun. Are you getting paid? I don't know. Noel Ginsburg is starting to sound a little like child abuse here. He says, my orientation was shaped by those early years. Of course, those are formidable years. And you were just a tool. You were just an automaton, a cog into the machine. I worked alongside people that obviously didn't come from the same zip code or economic status of me, but I gained fundamental appreciation and, in some ways, love for them. Oh, so you love us poor people. Thank you, Noel Ginsburg, for having, you know, pity on us. Little people. He says he had an extra credit class in college that led to a business plan that became Intertech Plastics. Okay, that's fascinating. So he went to college, and he come up with a business plan, and he founded Intertech Plastics. He left the University of Denver his senior year, so he dropped out so he could start this company when he was 21 years old. So many rich people drop out of college. Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, right? All college dropouts, and Noel Ginsburg is a college dropout too. Despite a girlfriend who claimed that he had no life, Noel Ginsburg stayed on the path, going into business at a time when interest rates hit over 20%. Whoa, interest rates are 20%. Are you crazy? Getting into business right now? What are you doing, Noel? He had a very heartbreaking moment with Intertech Plastics in the very beginning when one of his major clients decided not to pay, right, pulled a Donald Trump and wouldn't give him his $2 million. So now Noel Ginsburg is out $2 million. $2 million. That's a hell of a fucking bill, right? They'll go after you for just $10 on your water bill. $2 million? How the fuck did that guy get away with it? He actually did take that guy to court. At first, he filed bankruptcy, took him to court, and then that saved his company because he prevailed in court. He was one of the few molders to survive 36 years of business in Denver. So he learned a lesson to never give up. These are good lessons, okay? So having a strong work ethic is a good thing. Never, always fighting, never giving up. These are good lessons. Hard problems are personal or professional. If you take the position that failure is not an option, you'll find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. I like Noel Ginsburg's indomitable spirit. Noel Ginsburg has been in civics. He founded the Colorado I Have a Dream Foundation with former State Senator Chris Romer. Him and his wife, Noel Ginsburg, and Leslie adopted 42 inner-city children from Denver, making a 10-year commitment to the kids to mentor them and provide college scholarships if they graduated from high school. He said 90% of those students graduated. That's a better retention rate than the public schools. This experience changed the trajectory of our lives. And he's going to get into Switzerland. He went to Switzerland, and he liked how they did their education system there, where essentially they are mending high-paid, high-profile businesses and put it into the classroom. So you're not just learning academic book work, but you're actually seeing where these ideas will lead to. I think that's tremendous. That's a lot of liberal arts, institutions. They don't do that. Some colleges only do that, so I think they leave out a lot of the liberal arts, part. But you have to, in order to survive in America, you've got to get a job. So liberal arts institutions aren't teaching that. In fact, I heard with black students, the unemployment rate was greater for college students. So you went to college, then you were like, well, fuck, this bullshit. Why do I got to do it? So Noel Ginsburg he's part of this entourage of educators, economic developers, trade association members that went to Europe to see how they were, doing their vocation education. Businesses started preparing students for highly skilled, high-demand jobs starting at the age of 15 or 16. So starting the, kids young, getting them, pushing them out the door a little quicker. The provider of education is primarily companies and industries, not schools, because we know what we need for our factories and businesses to run well. They leave it up to schools to teach reading, writing, arithmetic, and core skills, and they leave the rest up to industry. And it works. I don't think it works as good as you think it does, no, but let's go on. So 75% of Swiss students go for an apprenticeship certification, while 25% pursue a 4-year college degree. Most enterprises making up the Swiss economy, banking, financing, management, information technology, healthcare, manufacturing, offer vocational education. So 75% of the Swiss, so he wants to do the education system like they do in Switzerland. Switzerland is also the one seriously talking about a universal basic income. Switzerland's doing a lot of badass shit. They're also on top of the mountains, so that's fitting for Colorado. Rocky Mountain High, high. Colorado is known as the Centennial State. The 100 state, Centennial, the 100 years. What? Why? So Noel Ginsburg goes on with the Swiss banking industry. They invested $20 million into its training system. They want to make sure the talent pipeline is full. So regardless of the industry, this is all according to Noel Ginsburg, but I believe it. Regardless of the industry, apprentices earn about $800 a month. And they spend most of the week in the field learning to do jobs that generally start at $55,000. Every year, companies post the jobs they think they will need apprentices for the next 2 or 4 years. If there are no jobs being created, there are no apprenticeships being created. So you can't study an apprenticeship where there isn't going to be opportunities for you. It's a very market-driven system. It's very powerful. Because of the apprentice programs, the unemployment rate for the Swiss youth ages 18 to 24 is 3.7% compared to 16.3% for Americans ages 16 to 19, according to, okay, so this is all plastic news, and this is when he wasn't running for governor. This is November 19th, 2015. This is just him going around giving talks and telling people to, be more like him. He's, he's civic-minded, right? He adopted those 42 inner-city kids, and 90% of them graduated, so, he's doing good. He took a small subsample, so he does know how to, graduate 90%. What happened to the other ones? Noel Ginsburg, don't forget about, the other ones. How come you couldn't get them to where they needed to go? Are they doing okay? 10%, that's 4. 4 of your students didn't go to college. Are they okay? I hope they're not in jail, right? You're still kind of mentoring them. And I do like that idea. That's like the one big schoolhouse. And when you had one big schoolhouse, the older kids were teaching the younger kids how to read and how to, do all the things that they knew how to do. And it gave them, they were taking responsibility. They were taking a ownership in their community. They were helping, one of their young neighbors out. And that's what Noel Ginsburg is sitting here doing, only he's doing it for the macro. He's doing it for all of society. This apprenticeship system is also good for the public, for the taxpayers, he says, because it doesn't require any taxes. It's totally outside of the purview of government. So that's a good thing. He's got a great idea, great educational philosophy. It's sound, it's clear, I understand it, and it's going to cost no taxes. So that's perfect. If you added bunnies and rainbows, it couldn't be any better. So I like Noel Ginsburg. Noel Ginsburg is a pretty badass dude. Even though I asked his competitor, the Republican candidate who's in the race, he's been Republican his whole life, but he doesn't like Trump, right? So that's why Eric Underwood, and I like Eric Underwood mainly because he's the underdog and he's got the potential to say a lot of incredible shit. He's got power. If you're a candidate in for office, then you add to the discussion more than any of the other citizens out here. So you're in a position, if he can go completely progressive, right? Eric Underwood is a bona fide conservative Republican. His conservatives, his bona fides are 100% secure. Okay, Eric Underwood, you were a Republican, right? And then a black man as a Republican, right? So, what, did he go to the Klan meetings next? Was he at the neo-Nazi meeting before? Does he wave a Confederate flag around? So, he's already conservative. So, if Eric Underwood can look at the universal basic income, which both the conservative Milton Friedman, an ultra-conservative Milton Friedman, an ultra-conservative economist, agrees with, and Martin Luther King, a democratic socialist, both agree with, and I think we could get universal basic income in here, just like Switzerland has done, just Switzerland is talking about doing. So if Eric Underwood all of a sudden just embraced the universal income, holy shit, I would be Eric Underwood's #1 fan. I would repeat, I would say nothing bad about, never criticize him, just paint him up as the golden child. But right now, I don't see any golden children in this race. So the Greens are going to pick somebody eventually. Maybe I'll like the Green candidate. But these, Democrats, they're pretty... So what did Noel Ginsburg say about his other candidates? Well, he says that he's a workhorse. Noel Ginsburg is a workhorse. They're just a bunch of show horses, right? So they just want to make sure they look good, they look pretty, they're total superficial, just look at me. And do you have solutions? Nope, but look at me. I can think of a couple. I can't think, all of them. He's right. He's absolutely right. So I think Noel Ginsburg, he's not just a formidable candidate. He might have just taken #1 spot. He's got a very crystal clear vision. I see exactly what it is he's talking about. Before, it was between Ed Perlmutter and Mike Johnston. I liked Mike Johnston better because he was younger, had more progressive ideas, but Ed Perlmutter's good, and he's a serious candidate, so I felt like it was just between Mike Johnston and Ed Perlmutter, and Ed Perlmutter and Mike Johnston could keep everybody else out. Don't even let Kerry Kennedy in. But now I feel like it's a three-way race. Noel Ginsburg versus Ed Perlmutter versus Mike Johnston. And Mike Johnston, hopefully the two old people knock themselves out and then he can go up the middle. But that's more of a question of strategy and tactics. I give a shit about policy. Even if you promised You know, Jimmy Carter promised to decriminalize marijuana in the 70s. He didn't do it. So even if you promise it, that doesn't mean necessarily it'll come to fruition. But if you promise it, you have a good indication that it probably will happen. But if they don't say anything about it, don't assume. Don't assume that they're just going to believe what you believe. Barack Obama was ran as a blank slate candidate. So he said very few issues, and you got to put whatever vision you wanted onto Barack. So the show horses, Mike Johnson, he's got that hair, right? Even Eric Underwood, all his is just posing. I feel like his entire website is just him posing. Is that all that Eric Underwood is going to? Is that how Eric Underwood is going to get elected? Oh, he's a nice-looking young chap. I'm going to go ahead. That's what I think that Victor, that $3 million guy, that $3 million Republican, that's what he looked like. Hey, I smile nice, though, and I'll shake your hand. Matt Bevin did say that for every hand he shook, that was a vote. So there is something to that, Victor, whatever, Mitchell, he could get his word out there. He's got 3 issues. All of Colorado will hear his issues. I have 100 issues. Only those interested enough to, 1, be educated, and 2, pay attention to me. Would understand or know that. So I, having no money or power, that's why I'm speaking on this, VHS 1989 quality style camera. I have some better videos out there, but this is, the underground. This is the resistance. This is the revolution. So I like the audio. The audio sounds badass. Kerry Kennedy, definitely. And so who else is there? There is Kerry Kennedy, show horse, Mike Johnson, kind of show horse, kind of workhorse. Ed Perlmutter, he's a workhorse-ish, but Eric Underwood, yeah, he's right. Noel Ginsburg is the workhorse. So y'all need to up your game, give a better vision. He just had one vision, just one fucking vision. There's another good thing about Noel Ginsburg. He says as governor, he's going to push back hard against the Trump administration and any others that jeopardize the environment or that seek to marginalize any person because of their place of birth, religion, women's right to choose. Okay, he's in favor of, he's pro-choice. That's amazing. Noel Ginsburg, pro-choice. I don't even know if Kerry Kennedy is pro-choice. Socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Good, he's against discrimination. I think that's actually an easy issue to be against, but I believe him. If you voluntarily say that you don't discriminate, I believe you. Unlike his Democratic rivals, Noel Ginsburg openly supported an annual sales tax for infrastructure improvement, saying investing now saves money in the future. He's absolutely right. Oh my gosh. He's big on the rural areas. He really wants the rural spots. Pueblo is a small town, big city. We have all the stuff of the big city, but it's got a very small town feel. I can get on the interstate here and then go down the next exit, and I'm right in the middle of a residential area, but then I can go 2 exits up, and then I got, everything that I ever wanted, right? Fucking Applebee's or Red Lobster, Walmart, Target, everything, a shit ton of businesses all over the place. You can go out, Pueblo West, and there's lots of places. Shit, and the marijuana culture here is big. I think there's 12 marijuana shops. So Noel Ginsburg is spotlighting mental health, services. He wants to work to improve access and remove the stigma. He thinks an education system and job climate has to give everybody a chance to enter the middle class or better. Government decisions can't improve only the state's cities while leaving rural areas behind. Noel Ginsburg, I may have just switched my vote up to you. I think it's between you or Mike Johnson.